Good evening, everyone. I'm Gary Hotner, publisher of The Item, and welcome to The Item's candidate night for Clinton's June 10th election. I want to thank the high school for hosting and students from Paul Morrison's class for taping. We have several contested races this year. There are 2 open seats on the Board of Selectmen, an open seat on the school committee, 2 seats on the Board of Library Trustees, and an open moderator's race. And we're going to be tackling them all tonight. So we're going to start with the Selectmen and give you a little bit on how it's going to work. So each candidate will be given a 2-minute opening statement. Then we will ask 3 to 5 questions. I think with the Selectmen we have 4 questions. Then after that you'll be given a 2-minute closing statement. Timing will be done by Item Editor Jan Gottesman. You can see her over there with her foot up. She's in the front row, so keep an eye on her. When you have 30 seconds left, she's going to hold up the yield sign. When your time is up, she'll hold up a stop sign. So it is important to glance up occasionally. Sometimes people will read what you're saying, and I have to yell at you to stop, and we don't want to do that. So try and look up every once in a while. There are a number of candidates, 3 of whom could not attend tonight due to conflicts. They had the opportunity to submit 2-minute statements, which I will read. So we're going to start with the Board of Selectmen. There are 4 people running for 2 seats on the Board of Selectmen. The candidates are John Busno, who had a conflict and cannot attend, Ed DeVault, Mary Rose Dickbaut, and Jessica Spano. So I'm going to read John's opening statement, and then we'll throw it over to you guys. Okay? So as people watch this, I am not John Busno, but I'm going to read this as if I am. John Busno is a candidate for one of the 2 open seats on the Board of Selectmen. I wish to thank the Item for sponsoring this debate. Due to prior scheduled commitments, I am unable to make tonight's debate, but I wanted to submit this statement to introduce myself to the voters of Clinton and explain why I am running for the Board of Selectmen. John's a lifelong Clinton resident. He's a small business owner in Clinton and has been for over 40 years. John was educated in Clinton public schools and is a taxpayer, a parent, and a grandparent. As a citizen of Clinton, John wants to offer his time, life experience, and business skills to improve our community. As a member of your Board of Selectmen, John pledges to be an informed, independent voice who considers all points of view before voting on any issue with the board, to work collaboratively with all 4 of my fellow board members, and to seek input from the various department heads prior to voting on any decision that impacts that department, to be open and transparent in all my deliberations with regard to any decision I make, and be willing to explain to you, the citizens of Clinton, why I voted a certain way on any issue before the board, to work tirelessly and diligently to keep property taxes as low as possible, and to find new ways to ensure that your hard-earned tax dollars are spent efficiently and wisely while maintaining the vital services that our town needs, expects, and deserves. To work with the Community and Economic Development Office to attract more new business to town while supporting existing businesses and helping to improve the downtown streetscape by seeking more grants, to meet with Public Safety Committee to seek a long overdue solution to the parking situation on High Street, to help work with the School Board and the Finance Committee to ensure appropriate levels of school funding from the state and the town of Clinton, to continue to help make our schools meet the needs of our students and dedicated teachers, and to better prepare our students with the necessary education and skills for college, trade school, the military, or direct entry into the workforce, and to improve our infrastructure by maintaining a yearly capital improvement program that seeks an increase in Chapter 90 state funding for road surfacing. On Monday, June 10th, 2019, I respectfully ask that you vote for John. Voice note. And he throws in some time, so we'll get to that later. Okay, so now we'll head over to opening statements, and we'll start with Ed DeVault.
Thank you, everybody, for giving me this opportunity to speak with you and answer some questions about Clinton. My name is Ed DeVault. I'm a candidate for Selectmen. I currently serve on the school board and have worked hard over the last 4 years, pushing for changes that I believe have laid the foundation for future growth. I'd like to continue to help Clinton prosper by advocating for a few important strategies. First is a no broken windows policy made famous in New York City in the 1990s by Mayor Giuliani. Simply stated, it says if a community tolerates neglected properties and vandalism, it welcomes more of it. To prevent this, I would look to 1, reassess the town's ability to engage with owners of vacant or neglected commercial property. It's not fair to a small business when neighboring buildings are in a state of neglect. 2, removing graffiti from any public town-maintained area. Some think this is a futile effort, but I 100% do not. If graffiti goes up one day, it should come down the next. Buildings, road signs, wherever it's found. I would also like to pursue cost-effective means to paint all town railroad bridges. I'm excited about the upcoming $4.5 billion High Street restoration project, but if we do not resolve the parking issue on High Street, these updates will be wasted. These spaces are for shoppers, not for employees and not for residents. We need to find an effective enforcement policy. We need to continue to work towards a business-friendly tax rate. With the downtown restoration project starting and a renewed interest in mill space, now is the time to entice business to Clinton. Among other ideas I will be listing during the campaign, I would also like to put various surveys on the town website to get feedback from the community. As issues affect the town, it's good to know what the taxpayers are thinking. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to answering all of your questions.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Mary Rose Dickbaut.
Thank you. I would also like to thank the item for sponsoring this, and I would also like to thank the high school children for making themselves available to make this all possible tonight. I served for 24 years on the Board of Selectmen, starting when I was only 37 years old. Needless to say, I'm not 37 anymore, but it was a wonderful experience, and many things I think were accomplished over the years that I served on the Board of Selectmen. I was never afraid to take on a challenge, even when it was a popular one or an unpopular one, because my philosophy is we're up there to represent all of the townspeople, all of their interest, and there is constantly issues that come up. I mean, a town doesn't, you resolve one issue and something else comes up. As Ed did allude to, that we are going to be doing the downtown streetscape. And I also, for the price tag that I know it's going to be over $4 million, I would like to see some more debate before they actually start construction. From what I hear, the bump outs are going to stay, and it doesn't really increase the parking at all. And so there are always, again, many issues that go on. Even when you start something, you always, I think, as it's going on, there has to be discussion, because nothing ever goes completely smooth. And I think that anyone that's served on any board, has been in public service, realizes that. So again, I've served for 24 years, 18 and then 6, and I've taken a 4-year break, and I am truly anxious to become part of the board again, and I hope the voters in Clinton will give me that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next candidate is Jessica Spano.
Good evening and thank you. My name is Jessica Spano and I aspire to be your next select woman. I'm a 2010 graduate of Johnson & Wales University, College of Business. I majored in retail marketing and management and fashion merchandising. I have worked in the retail industry since I was 20 years old and have continued my tenure in the industry until present day. My 13-year career in the service industry has been immensely rewarding. It has been rewarding through the connections I've made with my customers and colleagues alike. The best part of what I do is meeting new people every day. I have experience in developing and leading teams to success through finding practical solutions to problems, being proactive, and utilizing clear communication and valuing each member of my team. I would not have been able to achieve success without teamwork. As your select woman, I will utilize my experience in fostering teamwork to get the job done. I strongly believe in collaboration and cooperation and valuing each individual's perspective. When I first came to Clinton 6 years ago, I knew nothing of the town other than that it was an affordable community with a good commute to the Metro Boston area. I quickly discovered what a gem I had found. I was immediately welcomed by my neighbors with open arms and big hearts, and I experienced a caring atmosphere throughout Clinton that could not be rivaled with other communities I had previously resided. I was no longer just residing in a place, I was home. We are a tiny town with big character. I am enthusiastically running for select woman because I love Clinton. As your select woman, I will work towards economic development in our business district, market our town to attract new businesses and residents, enhance the flow of communication from town hall to our citizens, and be your voice because representation matters. I am seeking office to gain a seat at the table where the decisions are made to guarantee every citizen of Clinton has a voice. I will always put the best interests of our community first and ensure you have the leadership you deserve.
Okay, thank you. So our first question, we'll start with Mary Rose Dickbaut. And that question is, what do you feel is the biggest challenge facing the town, and why are you the best person to solve it?
Well, to pinpoint one particular thing, I think is very difficult because there are always many issues going on in the town of Clinton. But I think one of the most important issues would be that now that we have realized substantial money from the closure of the landfill, I think it's very important for us to formulate a capital plan. My vision is that it would be at least a 5-year plan, and that we have committees, we look at the needs of the town, and rather than just saying, let's take X amount of dollars and do road resurfacing, or let's do some other capital program, that I think you have to really look from the overall perspective of there are so many things that need to be done. Let's take our time. It's only one-time money. Once that landfill is closed, that money dries up. So I think we have to be very particular in how we face those issues. For people that I don't know if they know or not, but the downtown area, that's the work that's being done, is from money that we've received from the closure of the landfill. I think there are so many issues that are always out there, but I think that as we go along, I have experienced in the years that I was there, you find much satisfaction in something that you can solve and you can come to a successful conclusion. And we did it with the renovation of the town hall, corporate house, the development of the new cemetery. These were things that needed to be done. We took our time and we were able to be successful in accomplishing these things. So I think that's basically what happens.
Okay, great, thank you. Ms. Spano?
So one of the challenges I see in town right now is growing our downtown business district and marketing to the rest of the state and the rest of New England. What a great place we are, trying to get the word out on why people might want to set up shop here, even why it's a great place to live. I hear lots and lots of talk about it. The downtown revitalization project is a great start, but that alone won't necessarily bring in new business. And by new business, I mean small, locally owned shops, not talking corporate chains and franchises. I'm the best person for the job because of my business acumen. As I stated before, I have over a decade in retail. I am a huge proponent of working side by side with other departments in town hall and making sure that the communication is open, all the channels of communication are open between all the departments, so we're all on the same page about everything and we can work towards a common goal.
Thank you. Mr. Duvall.
So I think that our biggest issue right now in town is vacant properties and empty storefronts. And I think we have to start rethinking our strategy to entice business into town. I mean, the timing right now is perfect with the downtown restoration project, and like I said, there's renewed interest in mill buildings. I think that I'd be a great candidate for the job. I'm a good communicator, good team builder. I already have some experience with elected office. I've been on the school committee for the last 4 years. An engineer by trade, and went to WPI, so I find myself to be logical and rational. I do think one of the things we can take a look at is, I think they've started this already, is starting to try to lower that split rate. I think right now the disparity from residential to commercial is it's almost like twice the rate. So you have to be careful doing that because you don't want to overburden the residential property, but at the same time, I would argue that the status quo of our approach to that in the past is evidenced by driving down High Street and Main Street and looking at a lot of the businesses that just aren't there. And I think if we can intelligently approach this problem in this opportune time, because I just think it really is a good time to rethink our tax strategy. I think if we're smart about that, there's also other avenues we can do besides the beautification of High Street. I think we can also look to make the paths from the parking lots to High Street, the existing parking lots, just clean, clear, attractive, and lit. So we have decent parking around High Street, even above and beyond the spaces there. But I think we could probably do some more construction just to make those paths easier to see, nicer, and I think that would also help the flow into downtown.
Okay, thank you. Well, Mr. DeVault mentioned the tax split, so why don't we jump to a question on that, and we'll start with Ms. Spano. This past year, the Board of Selectmen adopted a policy to reduce the town's property tax split by 2 percentage points annually, and to expand tax rate exemption programs wherever possible. Do you support this policy, and why or why not?
I do support the policy for evening out the tax split. Simply put, we want to make it easy for businesses to set up shop and be successful here. And too much of a tax can be a deterrent for businesses. In all things fair, we should all be paying the same amount of tax.
Okay. Mr. DeVault?
Yeah, so I kind of hit on that a little bit by coincidence in the last one. I do think that we are taking the right approach. I would like to continue that approach, obviously, to reevaluate it every year. I do like that we're also at the same time expanding the rebates, because we definitely don't want any of these adjustments to affect your fixed income, retired elderly population in the town. Some of these rebates will help with that. But I do think that, Clinton doesn't have access to highways like a lot of other competing towns have. And this, trying to change this tax split is one of the few things that we are in control of, and that we can do to try to entice the businesses to come to Clinton. And like I said, I just think it's time to go in a new direction to try to close that tax split, because as in my talk previous, I think there is no golden answer, but you just kind of have indicators when you drive around town and look. And just a big thing for me is trying to get stores back into some of our commercial properties, deal with some neglected property. And I do think that that adjusting that tax rate is a step in that right direction. A lot of other communities are starting to go to trying to get to a single tax rate. I don't think we'll ever get to get it all the way down to be equal, but I do think it's important that we start moving in that direction and then reevaluate it every year. And the goal is that if you are business friendly, you can encourage more development. You can encourage renovations and existing. That ups the value, and you increase your tax base in that manner. So I am in favor of that, and I hope to continue that strategy.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Dickbaut?
Well, when I was on the board, for many, many years, we were at the 175 split, which is the highest you could go. And the year that I got off the board, we went to a 165. I believe it was set at 154 this year. I'm not in favor of continuing down that road and to essentially put more burden on the residential taxpayer. And I'm certainly not in favor of the single tax rate. That would be my position. I think that there are other avenues that we could offer to businesses, being TIFs. We've done it in the past with other companies that have shown a desire to come to Clinton and who eventually did come to Clinton. I believe that we are blue-collar town, becoming a blue-collar town and a bedroom community. And there are a lot of senior citizens, and it's just my position that I think we were for so many years at the position of the 175. I did agree when I was on the board to come down a little bit, but I think that it's just, we've done it, and our town always worked successfully at the rates that we kept them. And I think that though it is a good business environment out there, that most of these people are coming into buildings, if they're small businesses, they're renters, and I don't know that necessarily they would see a difference by lowering this rate. So that would be my position.
Okay. All right, this next question, we'll start with Mr. DeVault. There are several marijuana-based businesses setting up business in town. How do you feel the town is coping with the challenges of bringing these complex businesses to Clinton, and what do you feel will be the challenges going forward?
I think we're coping. We're starting out good with limiting I believe we're at 2 right now for dispensing. We're in a unique position because this industry seems to value mill space, and I think that's really good for Clinton, because if you talk to a lot of developers, they'd much rather just build from the ground up. Renovating an old mill space sometimes is more of a liability than an asset. But this industry seems to value that. So I think that we are making the right steps. I agree with limiting and really keep cracking down on the dispensaries and making sure that we evaluate and that we're satisfied with that, if we want to go up or down. But I do think we should be a little bit more liberal with the cultivation centers. So if the business, if they just want to utilize a mill space to cultivate, I think we should have a really good reason not to allow a business to do that. Because the worst thing that can happen if this bubble bursts, that if we can get 2 or 3 mill buildings that get renovated by a company, in the worst case scenario, I think that's better than where we're at right now, where a lot of the mill space in town is starting to deteriorate. So I think that I think we're taking the right approach, and if I was elected, I would be very liberal with the cultivation center portion of that equation.
Okay. All right, thank you. Ms. Dickbaut?
Okay. Well, my understanding is that we have 2 for dispensing, but we've also given 3 out for growing, so manufacturing. So we're basically at 5 already in Clinton. My understanding is we have 9 pouring beer and wine. Excuse me, not beer. We have 5 packaged beer and wine licenses, and so that theoretically the town could go to 9, but at this point they're at 5. My position would be that I would prefer to see us take a look at how this develops and then revisit as we go along to see if we would like to increase that number. We would have to make a request to increase them. They are available to us in the future, but I think where nothing has started yet, I think it would be in the town's best interest to see how it all works out, rather than, continually give these licenses out without really seeing what effect it has on the town of Clinton, financially and otherwise. So that would be my position.
Okay. Ms. Spano?
Yeah, I think the town is proceeding with a fair amount of caution on this issue with the dispensaries and grow facilities. I think that's a good thing. I am 100% behind legal marijuana. And like Mr. DeVault stated, this industry does favor old mill buildings. This town is full of old mill buildings. It's a great opportunity for us to rehabilitate these buildings, and I think we should welcome growth facilities. I am comfortable with the 2 dispensaries in town. I think if we were to grow that, we would need to look into that further for a town this size.
Okay, our next question, we'll start with Ms. Dickbaut. While selectmen are not fully responsible for the town budget, they do a lot to help shepherd the way the budget is formed. There's been work in streetscaping and lighting. There's a good working relationship right now with the school committee. What are your priorities with the budget, and what would you like to see moving forward?
Well, what I'd like to see is more of a coordination. When I was on the Board of Selectmen, we always had the responsibility, and I believe we still have the responsibility, to formulate the budget. And then the budget would be presented to the Finance Committee. And the Finance Committee would overview the budget. During the process, what we had done is we had set up subcommittees. So there was 2 members of the Finance Committee and 2 members of the Board of Selectmen. I believe that still does happen. But I believe that the Selectmen, in my opinion, should be the ones that formulate the budget. I don't know that that's exactly what's happening right now, but that would be my position. That's one of the things that I would like to see. I know that going to town meeting, there was 50 some odd warrant articles, a lot of money articles as well. And I just think that, it's the people's money that we're spending. And I just think that the Board of Selectmen should be so involved with every aspect of it with the Finance Committee. And that would be something that I would really, really push for.
Okay. Ms. Spano?
With the budget, I think presenting it to our citizens in a way that is understandable is an important thing to do, so people in this town know exactly where the money is going and how it's being spent. So I would like to see the town invest in some sort of platform that anyone who lives in Clinton can go to, and it's broken down easily for them to see, so they understand where their money is going.
Okay. Mr. Dickbaut?
So being on the school committee for a number of years, I'm probably a little bit predisposed to hope that a major priority in the budget is obviously the schools. I think if you're trying to, that's part of the reason I joined the school committee 4 years ago. I wanted to help out the town. My mindset was, if we want to help Clinton, you kind of want to start from the best place to start is the school system, and to try to get that school system strong. I think we've made a lot of changes to make that happen, and now I feel comfortable, if lucky, to move on to help out in other venues. So schools, I think, are very important. I also would like to make sure that the new facilities department is a priority in funding. I think that's a great idea. We joined that department. Generally, what I would look for in the budget is anything that what we're trying to, we started doing at the schools, and they're starting to do at the town, I'd like to do more, is to have more of a centralized structure as opposed to every group being on its own island. So money in the budget for I know we're discussing a new HR department, and a big part of that would be evaluation. So I think that's money well spent. I'd really like to look into positions that are going to be up at the town that will be evaluated on a yearly basis, because I don't believe that happens very frequently right now. And it's not to come down on people, that it's more to help them. I work in a engineer in a corporate setting. We have yearly reviews, and mostly it's to help you to find out, you may be lacking in something, we can get training for something. But if you don't do those evaluations, you don't know what you don't know. So that's another thing that I think would be important to focus money on from the budget.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll head into closing statements now. Ms. Spano, you'll be first.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for having me here tonight. It's one of the most exciting job interviews I've ever had, if you will. And it would be a privilege to have your vote on June 10th.
Okay, Mr. Dickbaut?
I'll just briefly, because I didn't get a chance to get into who I am in my opening statement. So those of you that don't know, I grew up in Clinton. I've lived here for most of my life. I was educated at Clinton High School. Then went on to WPI, earned a degree in mechanical engineering. I worked at Nipro in town for 11 years. I kind of started helping out with students after school programs, math assistants. That's how I get into kind of public service. That went into school committee, and that kind of led me to where I am now. Just two other things that I'd like to, at some point, if I am lucky enough to get elected, to start talking about developing is because the schools are working on basically like a vocational technical center for the students, and part of that working with the economic department to also have that be a community aspect to that for jobs training. And I work in automation, so I see like low skill jobs are leaving, and we need to do something in our town to help community members in town that need training on important job skills that they might not be able to get otherwise. So this would be a great opportunity. It could be a cross-functional area. There's still, there's talk of possibly doing it at the old fire station. There's talk of possibly renovating the existing industrial space in the middle school. But I think that this would be a huge opportunity for Clinton residents. And the other thing I would like to start, if anyone's grown up in town, especially like in your younger years, you've noticed there's never anything to do for kids in high school. St. John's Gym is great for kids that are in the middle school and on up, but then you get to high school and there's really, kids are loitering in the park, they're always getting brushed along. I would like to look at, and I've done some research on creating a self-sustaining youth, like a teen center. And it's TVs, pool tables, air hockey, these things, an environment for kids to hang out and essentially stay out of trouble. And the key to running it, from everything I've read about it, is that they have to run it. So that's another thing that I would like to take a look at possibly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Dickbaut.
I would just like to say in closing that in the years that I spent on the Board of Selectmen, it was one of the best things I've ever done in my life. I feel like the townspeople were good to me, gave me 8 terms on the Board of Selectmen. As I said, I was a lot younger when I first started, but I think as you get older, you get wiser. And I've learned a lot of things along the way. And one of the things that I've learned is you've always got to be courteous and considerate to the people that you're representing. When you get to the Board of Selectmen, you're only one of 5 people. I do know 2 of the sitting selectmen. I've worked with them previously. They do a good job, and I really hope that the people will return me to the Board of Selectmen, and I can continue working with the board members that are there now and the new ones that will be coming in. And if I'm lucky enough, I look forward to the 3 years for the term of the office. So thank you so much for this opportunity tonight.
Well, thank you all for coming. The 3 candidates for Selectmen and John Busno. Round of applause. So we're going to ask them to leave. And next up will be our moderator candidates. We've never had moderator candidates. So.
Do it alphabetically, it's easiest. Terry, Ingano,
Are we reading like to the left?
John, you're going to be over.
Where are you going?
Terry, you're going to be right there.
Right here? Right here?
Yes, Don, you're going to be right there.
Okay, so moderator candidates. John Hogan chose not to run after 33 years. Terry and Don have been waiting 33 years for this opportunity. Running to replace him are Terry Ingano and Don Lowe. We'll have 2 questions for each of you, but we also will have opening statements, and we're going alphabetically. So, Mr. Ingano, you'll go first.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Terrance Ingano. I'm a lifelong resident of Clinton and a lifelong educator in Clinton, for the town of Clinton. I retired on July 28th, 2017, and it's been a kind of a whirlwind ever since. First of all, my background is graduated from college in 1974 and started teaching right away in Clinton. I graduated from Clinton High in 70, and 4 years later I was right back, almost like welcome back Cotter, I guess you could say. And so I was a classroom teacher for 31 years, at the Clinton Middle School for 6, or at the Clinton High School for another 25. Later became curriculum director of the district, K-12, wrote all the grants, did all the professional development and training, and then was lucky enough and honored enough to be the superintendent of schools for 8 years. It was a job I loved, but I reached the age of 65 and I thought it was time to move on. I'll tell you something, retirement might not be the greatest thing in the world, but at first I didn't think so at all. But I have sort of found my niche, and that is back making a difference in the community in other ways, maybe volunteering. So I had to write down, the only thing I really wrote down is what I've done since I retired in 2017. And that's, I'm on the board of directors of Summit Academy in Worcester. I'm on the board of directors of the Clinton Adult Education Program, board of directors of Fathering Fathers. I'm a member of the Clinton Cultural Council. I've somehow got myself as a facilitator of the Clinton Dullman's Club. And I'm now a member of the subcommittee of the Board of Selectmen for Marketing and Communications, which talks a lot about town meeting and what we do there.
Thank you. Mr. Lowe.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to, again, thank the item for coordinating this tonight. I'd like to thank the students for recording this. And I'd also like to thank John Hogan, not for stepping aside, I'm not thanking him for that, but for the 33 years of service that he's provided to the town. He's done an excellent job. I was in the private sector for almost 20 years prior to transitioning to the public sector in January 2002. At that time, I became the Director of Community and Economic Development for the town of Clinton, a job that I held for 7 years. After that, or while I was in that position, I interviewed for and was hired into the position of Town Administrator in Bolton, which is a position I still hold. I'm aware of the responsibilities that will be entrusted to whoever the town moderator is. And I would like to say that I believe that I could ensure that I'm serving the town and our residents well if I were fortunate enough to be elected. I have the skills and experience necessary to run an effective, efficient, and orderly town meeting. The moderator manages all town meetings, special or annual. I have years of meeting management experience. I have plenty of parliamentary procedure experience. And two other things that the moderator does. One is the moderator appoints all members to the Finance Committee. They're the sole person who does that. And I have, again, 10 years experience managing a municipal budget townwide. I need to be fluent in every aspect of that budget. Therefore, I believe I understand the qualities that it takes to be a good Finance Committee member. And finally, the moderator also appoints all members to the Standing Building Committee. I'm currently on my 5th building project, my 3rd building committee, $144.9 million project for Minuteman High School, vocational high school. That project is coming in on budget and a year earlier than was originally forecast. Thank you.
Okay, well, Mr. Lowe, you have the first question, and if it's possible to steal the thunder from the moderator, you've done that, because the first question was more about what the role of the moderator is and why you're the best person for that job. So you've kind of done that a little bit, but if you want to take a little more time about talking about what the role of the moderator is.
Well, I never met a microphone I didn't like, so I'll fill up the 2 minutes. So that being said, again, I'll expand just a little bit. I did rush through the 2 minutes, but in my 20 years of experience in the private sector, I really had a lot of training in that area of meeting management, of making sure people are heard, people are valued. Digital Equipment Corporation, for whom I worked for 17 years, spent an awful lot of money training me on that. You learn how to spot situations that could escalate and get out in front of them before something becomes heated, as town meeting can get heated from time to time. You need to make sure that people are treated in a respectful manner, that people feel as though that they're heard, but also the counter to that is you can't have the same comment made 12 times in a row. At some point, you need to move on. As Congressman Jim McGovern used to say at events that I used to MC, everything that can be said has been said, but not everyone has said it yet. I don't think you need to get to the point where everyone has said the same thing. So at that point, I think it's more an art than science in trying to get the feel for a room and how that's going to work. The financial experience, I already mentioned, I am responsible for all the town budgets and the department heads that report to me. Ultimately, I'm responsible for them. And the building committee, I'm very proud of that experience. I was on the building committee. I was actually the chair of the building committee that built this high school, renovated the middle school. I was on the building committee for the Parks and Rec building. I was peripherally involved with the new library, the expanded library and new public safety building in Bolton. And again, currently on a $144.9 million building project that at this point is going very well.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ingano, same question.
I think the moderator, I think if we're looking upon the moderator's position as someone who is trotted out once a year and runs a good, solid meeting, I think it's kind of a crapshoot. I know Mr. Lowe could run an excellent meeting, and I know I could too. I look upon the moderator's position a little bit maybe differently as far as I think the moderator in town ought to be sort of the ambassador of the town, the head cheerleader, the envoy for that. I think my experience has been in public service and community service, and one of the greatest things that benefits I ever got was training young people to give back to their community. And that's really what this position is. I just found out recently, I think it pays $100 a year. So that's a service position. It's not much else. It can buy you some coffee, perhaps. So I look upon that position as someone that has to run a solid meeting. Yes, absolutely. And be fair to all, even opinions that may be obtuse and coming way out of left field. And I've heard them all at the many town meetings I've attended. But again, there has to be some civility. There has to be, I think, a little bit more levity. It's serious business, but, and John Hogan has done a wonderful job for the last 33 years. But I do think it should be a little bit more than that. We ought to be into training, which I've done a lot of. I think there's a lot of new people in this community, and they don't know about town meeting. They come perhaps from Boston. I just met a lady the other day, been in Clinton for like 3 weeks. She wouldn't know anything about town meeting government, what happens at town meeting, what you do, reconsideration, this, that, and everything else. You know, we need to probably have some kind of little training session on for people like that, and then people new in town.
Thank you.
That's what it says.
Okay. This question will start with Mr. Ingano. It's been addressed that the moderator appoints people to the Finance Committee. So what type of background would you be looking for in people that you'd consider appointing to the Finance Committee?
That's a great question. I think the current Finance Committee is probably some of one of the best functioning committees right now in the town. They seem to get along. We have a great blend of people from financial backgrounds, CPAs, business owners, people like that, bankers. I would be looking for someone certainly with a financial background or financial related. You have to know your P's and Q's. You have to know your assets and liabilities. You certainly also have to know town government, the way it operates. Behind every number is a person, and you can't forget that part either. I think if called upon to select a new Finance Committee member, I would probably do much like I did as superintendent when we brought together a small committee We, almost like a search committee, I know I would interview anybody and everybody who was interested in the position. Wouldn't cut out anybody. I'm extremely independent and not really subject to too much influence. If you live through 8 years of being a superintendent of schools and stay above the political fray, you're doing something, and that's what I did, and I'm proud of that. So I would look for financial background, a little bit of knowledge there, but you got to have somebody who's sort of in the middle. You can't have somebody who has a bone to pick with a certain department, but likewise, just as bad, you can't have somebody who holds this torch for a certain department against all other departments. There's got to be somebody in the middle, good listeners, someone who, willing to listen and ask good questions. I would get some help, some input from some people, not names, because I wouldn't worry about that. Maybe more aptitudes and skills that they would be looking for. Bring everybody together, have 2 or 3 finalists, and then I know it would be up to me to pick that person.
Okay. Mr. Love.
Well, I think there's varied skill sets that you want to see on the Finance Committee. While I value CPAs, I wouldn't want to see 6 CPAs on the Finance Committee. I think you need people coming from different directions. Certainly need people with a financial background who understand budgets. Municipal experience is absolutely preferred. I don't think it's essential. I think it doesn't hurt sometimes to get somebody in from outside a municipality or the municipal experience and in from the private sector that can take a look at certain things with fresh eyes and maybe look at some creative ways of doing things. I would want to see someone that brings common sense to the table. You can solve an awful lot of problems with common sense. Totally agree. People should be coming in with an open mind. There should be no preconceived notions. There should be no reasons to focus on one department or want to punish another because you weren't happy with something that they did maybe in your experience as a resident. So I also look at people's motives. The first thing I would ask people who interviewed is, why would you want to be on the committee? What is your motive for wanting to be on the Finance Committee? I think that is as important as anything. If people are on there for the wrong reasons, bad things can happen. I totally agree that the Finance Committee we have now is an extremely effective Finance Committee. I have respect. I know each person on the committee, and I have respect for all of them. And I would like very much to work with them as long as they would like to be on the Finance Committee. So I don't know when we'll be having any openings coming up, but again, always looking for new ideas. What's your motivation? Do you have a financial background? And if you have municipal experience, that's great, but it's not necessarily a prerequisite.
Okay, thank you. And a closing statement, Mr. Love.
Thank you. Once again, I would like to thank the item for organizing this. I think back to my first annual town meeting. I'm not sure exactly how old I was. I do know I was at Angie's Pub, and it was the 3rd time that they were trying to get a quorum for town meeting, and one of the police officers off duty came in and tried to get people to come up to town meeting. I went up to town meeting. Gene Caffarelli was the moderator. Gene made me a counter, and that's the beginning of the story, I guess. I've missed very few town meetings since that time. So John Hogan served 33 years. Gene served at least 30, if not more. I do not pledge to serve 30-something years, I promise you that. I think a good moderator, when you're running the meeting, when it's over, it's like a ball game. People are talking about the event. They're not talking about the umpire. They're not talking about the ref. We should just be blending into the background, organizing everything without even making it feel like it was organized. If somebody's talking about the moderator when the meeting's over, then the moderator did something wrong. I am a lifelong Clinton resident as well, graduated class of 77, and got a great education out of Clinton High. I think that one of the things we've historically run into is attendance at town meeting. One thing we can do is to try to educate people in advance. One process that the town moderator in Bolton has implemented, which I think is a great idea, is having a budget workshop about a week before town meeting. It's recorded by the local access people. The finance committee comes in, they do a presentation, the school superintendent comes in, she does a presentation, we get information out to people in advance. We found that to be very helpful. Also, a glossary of terms at the end of the warrant that explains all this jargon that people don't know, I think helps educate people. When people are comfortable, they'll come back.
Okay, thank you very much. And Ms. Ingano.
No doubt. I think we have a lot of work to do, not so much at town meeting, but before town meeting. And that's one of the things we do in this committee that I've joined, Marketing and Communication Committee of the Board of Selectmen. We need to get people, as Don said, we need to get more people involved. I believe in the training aspect too. Like I said, I go back to our group. Jessica Spano was on that committee. Our group led the cleanup day on Saturday. And a young lady came by that's been in Clinton for 3 weeks. And what can I do? Well, I gave her a bag. She started picking up stuff. But she's from Boston. And I'm sure she would love to participate in town meeting, but has no idea the terminology or anything of it. I don't think our town meetings are as welcoming as they should be. We need to get communication out better or whatever. In that vein, I have time on my hands. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm involved with a lot of groups, as you heard earlier, but I have the time now to devote to my community, which I have done all along from the very, very beginning. I think that I have made a difference. The idea at the end of it all, as I get older, the bottom line is, have you made a difference in your own little corner of the world? And I really think I have. I think the Clinton Historical Society is a better place than it was when I wasn't there, when I first joined. I think Clinton High School is a better place after my 25 years there. I think the Clinton Public Schools is a better place since my 8 years as superintendent. I have the time, I have the inkling, I know I have the skills to bring people together. I've always had that kind of skill to get people on the same page and work as a team. And I would hope that you would support me on Election Day. And I do wish my opponent, Don Lowe, a lot of luck as well.
Thank you very much. Our moderator candidates. Okay, we'll have the school committee candidate here. We have, yes, or candidate. Well, I was going to say candidates, but there's only one here. So there are two people running to replace Michael McIntyre on the school committee, Deborah Goodsell and Albert Mercado. Deborah Goodsell is unable to attend, and I'll read her statement for her, and then you and I will have a conversation afterwards. So, again, I am not Deb Goodsell, but I will read this. Deb Goodsell is a candidate for open position on the Clinton School Committee. I'd like to thank you all for your interest in learning more about each of the candidates tonight. I wish I could be there with you this evening, but due to a prior commitment, I am unable to attend. What I would like you to know in the 2 minutes allotted to me regarding my interest in serving on the school committee is that I will make every effort to do my best to serve not only our children, parents, teachers, and administration, but I will work diligently to serve our seniors and taxpayers by ensuring that we are using our resources judiciously as we strive to provide the best education possible for our children. I assure you that I will closely monitor the validity of each dollar spent. I believe we should always strive for greatness, especially in our children, by providing them the education and life skills necessary to succeed. We have many upcoming issues and concerns in our school system, and I'd like to be your voice on the committee. I am asking for your consideration when choosing your next school committee member. Thank you in advance for all your support and guidance, Deborah Goodsell. So thank you, Deb. And Mr. Mercado.
Good evening, and thank you again for this opportunity to the item. And I'd also like to thank the students in St. Morrison's high school class for taking the class. My name again is Albert Mercado. I live in Cedar Street in Clinton, Massachusetts. I grew up in Clinton, educated in the Clinton Public Schools, graduated from Clinton High School in 1994, continued on and went to Fitchburg State, graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in History and Secondary Ed, got a Master's in Education and Counseling Psych from Cambridge College, also got a college counseling certificate from the University of California in Los Angeles, and also a certificate of advanced graduate studies in educational leadership. My educational career started in the Clinton Public Schools, and that was by choice. I was presented different opportunities in various districts to be a school teacher, but because I wanted to give back to the community that I grew up in, I accepted a role as a paraprofessional because that's what was available at that time. My parents thought I was crazy. Why would I accept a position that pays half the pay when having the opportunity to be in another district what I studied? But that was my passion. Over the years, I moved up. I became a guidance counselor. I left the Clinton Public Schools District to seek other opportunities for growth, to present me to the opportunity where I am today. I have worked for the Milford Public Schools as a guidance counselor. I have also worked for the Worcester Public Schools and the Fitchburg Public Schools, where I'm currently as an assistant principal. I believe these different districts that I have worked in and coming back to live in Clinton provides me with a unique opportunity, unique lens to serve the community and to be an active participant in the board.
Okay, thank you. Our first question will give you more of a chance to expand on that a little bit. It's what do you feel are the main roles of school committee members, and why are you qualified to do that?
Well, under Ed Reform in 1993, the state law defines the main role is to appoint and hire the superintendent, but also to set policies, overview policies and regulations in regards to the school district financially, but also in regards to the curriculum. I have a strong interest in school committee and policy. Believe it or not, as in middle school, I used to sit, I believe at that time the school committee meetings were on Wednesdays, seems to resonate. I'm at home watching on the local cable channel the school committee meetings that popped up every midweek and seeing different individuals who served in those school committee roles and always had interest. And here I am today, building on that interest to work further. But really, it's to work with policy, work with the superintendent, and also as the board that's overseeing the employment of all the employees within the school district.
Okay. The town and schools have worked together to find a budget that works within the overall town finances and helps promote some of the needs in the future. This year, the Finance Committee set a 4% increase, which the schools were able to meet. In the coming years, there will be some big expenses coming up, including a renovation or replacement of the middle school. How do you see moving forward with finances as a school committee member and town official?
Well, I think it's important to note that it was alluded to this earlier in the panel, that a community is known by the schools. And I actually remember a prior superintendent, that was his motto and mantra for the district, that a community is known by the school it keeps. And quite often, when you're talking with people or real estate agents, they'll talk about how are the school systems. So I think, yes, the budget helps, but it's also important to understand what are the outcomes and the goals and the results. So we have the school district accountability report card. I'll be honest, the district has made some growth in that area, but I'm not happy where we're at, and I understand. But considering the infrastructure that we have in the district, the resources that we have, and the unique community, the diversity of the community, I believe we have the capacity to be at a higher level. And it's not necessarily because of the money. It's looking at how we're using the money, and is it being dedicated to produce the outcomes and results that is aligned with the school district's plans that has been established.
Okay. Next question. There have been several updates to the school programs in recent years, including the WIN blocks in the elementary and middle schools, bringing some special education programs in-house, including for behavioral issues, plus the purchase of a van to help with transportation costs. Where do you think the schools need to move in the future?
Well, despite those interventions that have been implemented, if you look at the data, one area of concerns that I have is the percentage of high-risk students that are identified in the district. And the definition of a high-risk student is defined by different categories. It could be a student who is suspended, a student that has an IEP, a student that has for reduced lunch, a student that is the English language learner. And collectively, if they have multiples of those identifiers, they're classified as high-need students. If you look at the district's data at the elementary level, it has been roughly about 30%. But something is happening at the middle school that from 30%, it grows up to 50%. If they've been in the district and we have a pretty stable population within our district, why is there so much of an increase despite these interventions that are happening and then decreasing again at the high school? Talking to different parents, talking to different teachers, there are some concerns going on at the middle level. There's some discussions that we need to engage in to see what is happening and what we can do to improve the outcomes for our students. That is systemic K through 12.
And our last question comes from Student Council, so you can blame them. Do you have plans for a method of student input in your policy making here in Clinton?
Well, I do believe in the voices of students, and there are our stakeholders, and they have a lot of opinions that can be offered. One avenue that I have to work with as an assistant principal at Fitchburg High School is the Changemaker program, and seeing the voices of the students becoming stronger, moving forward from different populations, regardless if they're special ed, English language learners, gifted, or low income. They have suggestions, and it's the momentum of them working together that is changing our community. And providing them with the opportunity to do that at a young age is only going to transform the school further and impact our community generations to come.
Okay, thank you very much. And now a closing statement.
Closing statement, going back again, I have a robust training in education. I have also think my opportunities, which I'd like to expand further in my employment opportunities, having worked as a guidance counselor, having worked at central office with the Milford Public Schools, overseeing the guidance program, assessment and accountability, and career vocational opportunities, choosing to also different opportunities. I worked as a middle school principal at Stacy Middle School in Milford, Mass. Choosing to challenge myself, I went to the Fitchburg Public Schools as an assistant principal for curriculum. Then was offered an opportunity to join the Worcester Public Schools at their central office. Quickly realized I liked the small schools. It seemed enticing to oversee a district working with 25,000 students, but working the relationships you develop with the teachers and the students in a small community is much more satisfying to me. I'm currently back in the Fitchburg Public Schools as an assistant principal, working specifically with the English language learner community, working in building the honors program there, having had the opportunity to work with different colleges and universities and in different boards. I ask for your vote, and I promise you that I will be diligent in attending all the meetings. I'll be diligent in reading, being prepared for the meetings, asking those questions, not just for the sake of asking questions, but for asking questions to have a better understanding, to make sure what is being presented aligns with the school and district. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So lastly tonight, we have library trustees. We'll bring them up. There are 3 people running for 2 seats on the Library Board of Trustees.
And the third person who was supposed to be here has, since this started, emailed me her statement.
So I'll be reading 2 statements.
You'll be reading 2 statements.
Okay.
So you'll be having another conversation.
Okay. Oh boy, and this is really small too, so. Okay.
I didn't realize you were going to be now.
All right. So the three candidates are Stephanie ML, who could not be here tonight and submitted a statement. E. Russell Grady and incumbent Karen Nugent. And I'm guessing Karen is not.
You are?
Not Ian Murray.
Okay. So Ian Murray also is going to be there, so she'll take Nugent's place.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So, get my bearings here, and I was going to thank Stephanie Amal because she would have been the third straight one where alphabetically it made sense to go first with her candidate's announcement, but we'll read Stephanie's and we'll read Karen Nugent's. So we'll start with Stephanie Amal. Hello, my name is Stephanie Amal, and I am a lifelong resident of Clinton. Although I tend to keep to myself, I have decided to run for library trustee simply because I love the library. My children and I visit the library weekly. Sometimes we even find ourselves there multiple times a week. We love Story Hour and the children's concerts. We have participated in events where we made shelters for feral cats and painted kindness rocks, which we continue to leave around town. Every summer, we participate in the summer reading program. One summer, we received a prize for reading 97 books. I have no political aspirations and tend to stay away from the occasional discord associated with elections. As a mom who momentarily cannot volunteer at the library on a daily basis, I feel that this would be a nice way to be involved and advocate for the library that I love so much. I kindly ask you for your vote. Thank you. Is your phone ringing?
It was making
Okay.
timer noise.
All right.
It was a timer.
Okay, now we will read Karen Nugent's. My name is Karen Nugent. I'm running for a second 3-year term as a library trustee. I moved to town with my husband in 2015 after retiring from a 23-year career covering Clinton as a reporter for the Worcester Telegram and Gazette and The Item. I still do some freelance writing. I decided to run for another term so I could see projects we've been working on come to fruition, including refurbishing the downstairs community room, once called the Gentleman's Reading Room. We are bringing the library into the digital age while attempting to make more room for activities, research, and programs. Although we are not yet ready to apply for state construction grants, I'm in favor of renovating the current building to make space and improvements rather than building a new library. I do not want to ask taxpayers for a lot of money, if any. However, we haven't seen the costs of either concept. I'd really love to see a coffee bar and a lounge reading area at some point, perhaps in the stacks area once the old books are cataloged and moved. The library is no longer a stodgy, hushed place to sit and read. It's a vibrant crossroads of community interaction. I hope to build on this during the next 3 years. During my current term, my fellow trustees and I have made significant progress in improving your library. There is a new heating AC unit in the children's library upstairs, and we are on our way to completing the community room on the lower level using money from a Clinton Home Foundation gift. There are new, very comfortable chairs for programs, insulated windows, and a new heating system, so it's no longer freezing. And soon there will be a new carpet and more furniture. We recently hired a new children's librarian, created a new position, Head of Youth Services, and approved adding 2 new Chromebooks to the tween-teen area. Downstairs, our computers and printers have been updated, and there are all kinds of new materials and online classes in languages, genealogy, hobbies, and more. I hope you will consider voting for me in the election, and that is Karen Nugent's statement. So we have 2 candidates here. We have E. Russell Grady and Ian Murray. Mr. Grady, would you like to go first?
Thank you. My service to the town of Clinton started in June of 2014. I was elected at the annual election to a 3-year term in the Library Board of Trustees. I served 2 years and 9 months of my 3-year term. In that time, we, the Board of Trustees, worked on upgrading the telephone system, brought CWMRs on board by funding and passing an article at the town meeting, added extended hours on Thursday, added a new roof, converted the heating system to gas to conform with all other town buildings. We started conversations about remodeling and upgrading the community room and planned to replace all windows on the bottom floor to match those of the rest of the building. We began discussions on adding video cameras downstairs at the restroom entrances and at the fire exit door on Church Street. During my time as a trustee, I didn't miss a meeting. And then it happened. I was diagnosed with a very serious medical condition. My doctors felt that I should start an aggressive treatment immediately. I was advised to stop all outside activities, which meant I had to resign my seat on the board. I stepped down after the meeting of February 17th, just 3 months short of the re-election. So, as the election of 2017, the date of June 2012 came near, 2 women, and I'll apologize for the pronunciation of their last names. One I know her parents, actually. The women, Alexandra Sapanis Angela DeVilio, and came forward to run for the 2 open seats, along with incumbent Tracy Callanjone. And they were all elected to the 2, Tracy and, I'm missing it, I'm sorry. Tracy and Angela were elected to a 3-year seat. Ms. Sapanis was elected to a 2-year seat. On the election date of 2010 came close, I received a call that Ms. Sapanis was decided not to run for the election. With my help, I'll have to stop.
You'll get a closing statement?
I'll
You
finish that.
can pick it up then.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mr. Murray.
First, my name is Ian Murray, and I'd like to thank everyone for participating tonight and to the item for helping to put this on. I broke my introduction to 3 parts. I'd like to talk a little bit about service, which is my personal philosophy, why I chose the library, and why I think I'm good for the position. So my personal philosophy is that you should serve the community that you live in. Whether that's volunteering as a coach for a local Little League team, serving on a board, anything that you can do with the talents that you have, I believe you should put your time in and help your community. Why did I choose the library? I believe in the library's place in the community. I believe it has a real role to play in information literacy and bringing the town together. And honestly, I love books. I love the library environment. So that's why I chose the library. And why me? I believe I have unique experience that I bring to the table. My education is fairly diverse. I have a bachelor's degree in biology. I have a master's degree in communications and several classes and graduate classes in an MBA program. I work at Fitchburg State University as a lab technician in the departments of geophysical sciences and chemistry. And it has afforded me, and I'll get to this in my closing statement because I'm not going to get to finish, but it affords me some unique opportunities, which I will talk about in my closing statements. But for now, thank you, and look forward to the questions.
Okay, well, we'll start with you. What do you understand to be the role of a library trustee?
My understanding is that the library trustee is accountable for the resources of the library, and it ensures that the library provides the best possible services to the community. That's from our code of ethics. And to that end, can you repeat the question? Sorry.
So what do you understand to be the role of the trustee, and how would you?
That's what I understand to be the role. I think as I get into my experience later on, I believe what I bring to the table is a person who is going to dedicate themselves to the role, who's going to put the time in, who's going to show up for the meetings, and who's really going to try to work together as a team and to bring the librarians together with the library director and the other trustees and really work with the community to build the library that we want.
Okay. Mr. Grady.
I feel the role of a library trustee is to guide the library in the direction. That the hiring of the director is important, the quality and the abilities of the director, the direction that they're taking. Sometimes it needs some correction. It needs a change of direction sometimes. As Karen stated, she's not particularly in favor of building a new library. She'd like to take better care of what we have. That's kind of my position also. Serving on the board, we have a beautiful building in a downtown corner location, and it really shouldn't be rebuilt. We should do what we can to direct the completion of the, and I'll get in this when I finish also, in the completion of the efforts that we started back in 2014 when I was on the board. We were talking about these things. Some of them have been completed, some are still being talked about, and that's what I think the role of a library trustee is, to guide these things through to completion.
Okay, coming back to you, Mr. Grady. What is your vision of the library 5, 10, 20 years from now?
I would like to see it as a cleaner, a safer, and a vibrant library. We have a beautiful building there, but it needs some care, and it's needed it. When I was there in 2014, the water was leaking through the back wall that faces the Historical Society. It's still leaking through the back wall. It's 1919. They're now talking about the facilitator's going to put it part of his plan to dig that back wall up and find out just what's going on. But back then, when we talked about doing the common room over, the community room downstairs, the first two things you do in a building when you're going to start renovation is make sure you got a roof on it so it's dry and no water's coming in anywhere else, and then proceed with what you're going to do. We talked about buying furniture in 2015 and 2016. That hasn't come to completion. So there's a lot to be done. I think the library is a beautiful building and it needs some care.
Okay. Mr. Murray, same question.
I think one of the most important things about the library, and I think everyone will agree, is the facilities need to be updated. I served on the strategic planning committee for the library over the past year, and that is one thing that came up over and over again, is we need better facilities to represent our community, and to attract the community to come in our facilities and feel comfortable. A few of the things that were pointed out in the strategic plan was that we'd like to see the materials, we'd like to see more materials, more programming, although I believe for a library our size and with our budget, we do a very good job with programming already. We could add a little bit more to that, but I think what we do is pretty good. Let's see. That's pretty much.
Okay, back to you, Mr. Murray. If you were elected, how would you use your role as a trustee to advocate for libraries, particularly Clinton's library?
I would use the role really to try to build consensus within the community. I believe one of my skills is being a facilitator. I think I'd like to bring in focus groups from the community and ask them their opinions on the library. I believe that one of the things I can do is to bring people together.
Okay.
Any question?
If you were elected, how would you use your role as a trustee to advocate for libraries, particularly Clinton's library?
I think one way to do it would be through the budget. We need to get more money moving towards the library to improve and increase the services that we provide. We should include more hours per day. You know, there's no law that says we have to close on Mondays and we can't be open another night during the week. The budget's the only reason that we don't do that. And we should, I would strongly push to increase our budget so we could extend the hours of the library so more people have the opportunity to use it.
Okay.
In my first 3 years on the board, in 2014, 15, 16, and 17, we had one person that attended, two maybe, a public meeting in the library. The Board of Trustees meetings always had a spot on it for public comments. There was never, in the beginning, there was a woman who was complaining about some books and had some issues, but when she stopped, nobody comes to a meeting. So I would do a little more in the paper and publicizing when these meetings take place, what's going on at these meetings, you know, to see where their money is being spent and where it's needed.
Okay, thank you. So it looks like we had to stop both of you during your opening statements. So you have an opportunity now to add to that. So
It was a tie.
It was a tie, right? So Mr. Grady, we'll start with you on your closing statement.
Back to what I was saying was that my health in a better place. I decided to talk to my doctors. They not only gave me the okay to, but they encouraged me to rerun for my spot on the board. As my headline reads, experience matters. I have been involved in many areas of the Clinton Town government in the past. I was the chairman of the Board of Health. I held a seat on the Zoning Board of Appeals. I was the chairman of the School Committee Advisory Board, which was tasked with bringing full-time kindergarten to the Clinton school system. I have been a licensed construction supervisor for over 30 years. This would be an asset to the library board of trustees as we continue to repair and upgrade the Bigelow Free Public Library. I'm always available to answer any questions on a Facebook page, E. Russell Grady for Library Trustee, and I respectfully ask for your vote on Monday, June 10th.
Thank you very much. Mr. Murray.
Excuse me, one last thing.
Oh, sorry.
Next Saturday morning, on the 25th of May, I'll be at the Clinton Town Library from 9 to 1 to answer any questions. So please stop by and ask, or you can reach me on my Facebook page. I'll gladly answer any and all questions. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Mr. Murray.
All right, I'll continue with my I talked a little bit about my education. I'll continue with my experience. As I was saying, I work at Fitchburg State University, and I'll get back to that. Just quickly, I also work as an adjunct professor at Central Texas College, where I teach courses in interpersonal communication, business communication, and public speaking, which I know how to teach it. I'm not the best at it, but it's okay. I was chair of the Fitchburg Board of Health for 7 years. I am still on the Fitchburg Board of Health and active there. So I understand what it is to work with the board, and to work with budgets, and to work with the department and all that. I work at Fitchburg State University, as I said, and that has brought me unique opportunities. I've been a member of the Strategic Planning Committee, which set the 5-year strategic plan for the university. I've been a member of the Planning Committee for the new and renovated science building. So I have experience working with renovations, which is what the library is looking to do. So I've been through that process. I was on the search committee, the national search committee for the dean of the library at Fitchburg State University. So I have an understanding of, we brought in all these excited people, and they talked about where they want to see the libraries go in the future. And very talented people from all over the country, so it was a good experience to hear from all of them and their ideas. So I just believe with my experience in my education and my ability to kind of to flow in different areas, be it marketing, research, grant writing, anything like that, I feel that I can bring that to the table.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Our library trustee candidates. So we want to have a shout out to Clinton High School. Want to thank Principal James Hastings as well for his help this year, and with past candidates nights, congratulate him on his upcoming retirement. Who knows, Terry, maybe in a few years he'll be up here and going for moderator if he's... We want to thank the students who filmed, the candidates who participated, the people who submitted questions. Jen and I were talking before this, these were the most questions we've had in the history of doing these events, so we need to get library trustee and moderator on more often. And we also want to remind everybody that the town meeting is June 3rd, and the election for all these great people will be June 10th. Polls will be open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Town Hall on June 10th, and we encourage everybody to get out and vote. Thank you for watching, and see you next year.